you know that the customer will not use the service anymore if the experience is not good enough. Live chat and chatbot helped a lot last year because it brings flexibility. Of course, people are expecting quick answer and so on, but at least those type of tools help us balancing the workload.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another conversation with short, insightful discussions with CX leaders focused on staying ahead of the constantly evolving customer. Today, I'm joined by Christophe Carrère. He's the Customer Engagement Director for the Europcar Mobility Group, which includes Europcar, Goldcar, Terrence, and Ubiquo. The company's ambition as a whole is to be the customer's mobility companion for daily life, work, and travel. And as so much has changed and happened actually for the travel industry in the past year and a half, and as Christophe is a longtime leader in the travel space, he formerly served as the Chief Customer Officer at TUI Travel. I'm excited to dive into today's topic, which is driving CX transformation. Christophe, nice to speak to you.
Good morning, Terrence. How are you?
I'm great. How have you been the past, as I mentioned, year and a half? How's life been?
Let's say on a work perspective, quite intense. Let's say all the industry of travel and tourism in general has been through. But we are progressively recovering, and I'm sure that by the end of this year, things will get more and more to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously I'm over in Boston and things are just starting to feel normal again. And I imagine it's much like that over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Christophe, as to put yourself in the shoes of a consumer, right? Because again, so much has changed. We've seen this digital transformation. Have you had any particularly memorable experiences as a consumer?
Well, let's say that the past 18 months has been driving us through a different perspective in terms of, purchasing, our daily life, and so on. If you're asking me, let's say pretty recent changes, I would say that obviously my day-to-day life has changed a lot. I'm not buying in the grocery stores as I was doing it before. So
Yeah.
more and more we are using, let's say, at least in Europe, automatic food collection, shops where we are in an app by purchasing or buying anything we would like to purchase, and having this thing being collected in a central point. And this is really something that I was not at all using before. And more, at least in France and Europe, people are doing like that. Also, sparing some time, not doing and going to the grocery store anymore, but really doing from home, and then collecting pretty quickly in 15 minutes. It's done.
And do you like that change?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it's a bit weird at the beginning, but you are forced to because of security and sanitary condition there. But it's really appreciable. I really like it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've talked about it in previous discussions.
Okay.
I'll never go back to a grocery store. Now, obviously, in the introduction I provided for you, I gave a good look at Europcar's presence in Europe. And I know you operate in more than 140 countries in the world. Could you tell us a little bit about the American market?
Yes, indeed. We're present worldwide, sometimes directly with our corporate, let's say, operations in mostly 20, 25 countries, then through franchises and also through alliances. Let's say that for US markets, we are previously being shown presence for decades, of course, through some partnerships. Recently, in 2019, we have bought a company called Fox Rent a Car. It's a car rental targeting, let's say, the leisure segment, and it's completing really our, let's say, our geographical footprint. It's on the same. You mentioned some of our brands before. It's on the same, let's say, positioning than Goldcar has. So really, for leisure customer looking for best value. And we are operating in the US in approximately 20 stations, corporate stations, and approximately 100 stations belonging to franchises.
Now, getting to the actual travel market again, and of course, today's topic, which is driving CX transformation. I understand that until recently, your market was much more product centric. And then the EMG group decided to place CX at the heart of its focus. And you were actually appointed as the director of customer engagement to lead this transformation. What priorities did you tackle right away? How did you get started?
Yes, maybe a few words on what it means being product centric for car rental company. As you can imagine, cars are pretty expensive, and it's not like service provided by companies such as Amazon or Netflix and so on. So the product we are, let's say, renting is costing some thousand euro or US dollars, and we have to take care about it. And I guess this is also explain why a lot of car rental companies are coming from a product centric organization, taking care a lot about the product, about the value, and then the
Mm,
customer is coming, I would not say second, but not, let's say, really in the heart of the strategy. So what
mm,
EMG decided to do, let's say, first is to place itself more as a service company. And from this change, it was pretty natural, I would say, to consider also the customer experience when you are considering yourself as a service company, meaning that you know that the customer will not use the service anymore if it's the experience is not good enough. So
right.
let's say that I would say that the journey moving to a customer, let's say, organization, has been initiated through the NPS initiative that we have started some years ago already, to illustrate and to push as a key differentiator first to our own employees, to really put the customer experience and recommendation at the heart of our employees. Then, operationally speaking, it's, I would say, more a recent evolution that we have initiated 3 years ago, considering the customer care first. So, what we
Mm.
have done is coming from a large landscape of worldwide countries having different customer care organization, internal, external, various outsourcers, and so on. We just came to a basic conclusion that it required to be homogeneous, and that we had to bring our customer to the same expertise or experience, sorry, wherever they are moving to US, to Europe, and each country of Europe. So this is where we started our journey there. We made a complete transformation of our internal and external organization in order to harmonize, standardize our process. And this journey came to an end approximately 1 year ago. And now we are pretty happy to serve our worldwide customer with a homogeneous, let's say, organization there.
And so, like you just kind of attested to, this was a global initiative. How do you really start to wrap your head around changing this at such a large scale? And you mentioned starting with your own employees, right? And transitioning from being much more focused around the product to more about the service you're providing. Were there any hiccups or issues that you had trying to scale this out globally?
Yes, of course. I mean, Europcar Mobility Group was used to have a model very much decentralized,
Mm,
where own corporate countries, but also franchises, had a lot of freedom, let's say. So what we try to implement basically is a framework for that freedom, and to allow these countries to move, but in the respect of certain, let's say, guidelines. And of course, when we are trying to do such changes, you are facing cultural habits, also differences in the customer expectation from one country to another, and it's very difficult first to make our employees, sorry, accepting those changes. For instance, when I was referring to customer care activities, some of our employees in some countries were really perceiving their own job on a day-to-day, like driving the outsourcer people, where
mm,
it's not the case at all, and we don't want that anymore. So it's really making responsibility of the outsourcer. So our own people also had to see their job a bit differently. So I would say that, to answer your question, the biggest change and difficulties we have to make was to have those countries accepting the change,
yeah.
explaining, and sometimes a bit also being abrupt. Sometimes with large scales organization, you have to impose the change. So that has to be also the case in some of those countries, to show from the results that it really makes sense in the end.
And naturally, it sounds like there's some easy segue here. But Christophe, how did this transformation actually help you through the pandemic?
Honestly, it was really helpful. Let me take an example. Once again, I don't want to focus too much on customer care, but this is really, I think this will speak to the people listening to us right now. Um, Having less outsourcers, having a model, having flexibility in mind. So basically, our model is to pay on acts. So we are not paying based on hours and stuff like that. And we forecasting activity with the outsourcer, and of course having global outsourcer helping us on that. We were really flexible during that crisis. So when one country or another being closed, we have always been in a situation to, let's say, balance our activity. For instance, for one day or two last year in the Philippines, we have had one center completely closed because of lockdown in the city. We were able to balance completely the activity to other locations there. So it's really about flexibility. And thanks to this transformation, this was one of the key driver helping us through the pandemic. Of course, people were able to work from home. This helped a lot because depending on the countries, the sites were closed. So it's really pragmatic result in the end that helped us serving our customer all through last year.
And I know that you guys have some messaging on your site too. Was the use of live chat helpful in this transformation?
Yes, live chat and chatbot helped a lot last year because it brings flexibility. Of course, people are expecting quick answer and so on, but at least
Yeah.
those type of tools help us balancing the workload and the kind of activities, and also chat and chatbot. Live chat can allow you also to have multiple conversation at the same time. So it's really, let's say, helping to manage volumes when it come with a rush, let's say.
Christophe, how is with obviously all this digitalization we've seen over the past year and a half, and obviously it was a trend that we were headed towards anyway. How is this changing the world of car rentals as it pertains to the customer experience?
Yeah, car rentals. I'm not coming from my history. My past history is not from car rentals. So I'm coming from industries, let's say, where service is delivered to the customer in a very different way. So
Mm,
when you are looking at car rental, you are experiencing usually a long time waiting before the desk and then spending administrative tasks at the desk and so on. So having the feeling to lose a lot of time before taking the keys and being able to drive your car. So this is exactly what we're trying to tackle these days, having all the paperwork and administrative tasks being done before, even when it's possible by the customer by itself, and therefore to speed up the process of picking up the keys and taking your car. So we are a lot working, and we have been already in the past years working a lot of key dispenser on digitalization of the car, the customer journey, to have
mm,
everything in your app. You mentioned the Ubico brand that we are operating in some countries, where the customer can simply go to the car, he opens the door with his mobile device, get the keys inside the car, and then drive through. So it's really the things we are most working on, and this is we think at least that this is a key challenge for the upcoming years.
And how does this drive for more flexibility? Sorry, no pun intended on that. How is this transferring over to your B2B part of your business as
Yeah.
well?
Um, I'm not telling you confidential information. I would say that approximately 50% of our business is B2B, while the rest is B2C or B2B2C. B2B is really a key component of our activity, and it's not following the same seasonality that we have on B2C. So it's customer that we are following and supporting all year long. The expectation is very basic. I mean, they are expecting to get their keys very fast and to go as fast as possible from the airport they landed, and to go to their meeting and so on. So this is exactly where we are trying to serve our customer, B2B customer, much faster. And this is where we are pushing the evolution I was referring to before, key dispenser, automatic access to the car, and so on. We are pushing them for them first. And then we have also to consider the flexibility of the offer by themselves. And this is why we are trying to bring to the customer these days with our long-term rental offer, where the customer can have multiple choice of cars. During the weekend, he can skip car from electric to from thermic to electric cars and so on. So really bringing them the most flexibility they expect from us.
Hmm. And our final question. So obviously, Christophe, I'll keep this clean, and thank you so much for the time so far. But NPS has been obviously correlated to the financial health of some companies nowadays, right? How are you, and how do you think businesses can go further as far as building out customer centricity to do some forward thinking?
Yeah, we are using at Europcar Mobility Group, we are using NPS as a key driver, of course, for our financial community, shareholders, and so on, but of course, for our own people. So this is where we started our journey, having NPS not only just as a measurement, but as a way to implement actions, to define root cause when facing issues, and to involve all our employees around one topic. And this is something we implemented already 5 or 6 years ago. It's really part of the people mindset today. So now, I mean, this is an habit for all our employees, from station agents to finance people and so on, to have even their variable pay based on the NPS. Now we have to go much further into the let's say the customer focus, and having all our employees, and not only the one facing the customer on a day-to-day basis, but really having all our employees, including HR, finance, and so on, to make them understand how they indirectly influence the customer experience. We're talking about cash collection, for instance. They are playing really a key part of the customer journey at a difficult moment there. And this is where we are actively working on these days. I think this is
Mm.
where the company also should fight for.
Well, Christophe, so much. Thank you again so much for joining us. Do you have any final closing words of wisdom for, we'll say, billions of listeners?
No, I would say that this is a pretty intense journey that each company has to lead.
Mm.
You have to prioritize things, because obviously you are not able to deliver everything at the same time. Product and tech is really key there. So agile product and tech organization is really a good support for customer experience improvement in general.
Mm. Well, Christophe, thanks again for joining. This is Christophe Carrère, the Customer Engagement Director for the Europcar Mobility Group, tackling driving CX transformation. Thank you, Christophe.
Thanks, Terrence. Bye.